Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we get to take a look at the 2023 GMC Canyon. This is the AT4. Huge shout out to Randy Marion GMC for providing this brand new midsize truck for me today. Be sure to check out their website. That link is down in the description. So this Canyon is finished off in a very unique solar flare metallic with an MSRP just over $53,000. This is powered by the 2.7 liter high output 4-cylinder turbocharged engine that's paired to the 9-speed automatic transmission, pumping out 310 horsepower, 430 pound-feet of torque. That power is primarily sent to the rear wheels, but with the AT4 package, of course, this has the 4-wheel drive system as well. It weighs in right around 4,300 pounds, will do 0 to 60 in 7.5 seconds with a top speed of 135 miles an hour. It also has a fuel capacity of 21.4 gallons. You'll expect to see around 18 miles per gallon in the city, 23 out on the highway. This also has a wheelbase of 131.4 inches. Its overall length is 213.2. It has a width of 84.4, a height of 79.8. Its maximum ground clearance is 10.7 inches, and it also has an approach angle of 36.9 degrees, a breakover angle of 20.9, and a departure angle of 22.3 degrees. As we move on now to the exterior styling for the all-new GMC Canyon, I really like what they've done for the exterior as well as the interior for this mid-size truck. So up front, GMC is massive, right in the middle of this fairly large grille. In some angles, this looks like a mini Sierra, just with the angling and styling of this grille. But there's also some brush trim accents running throughout the grille, even a forward-facing camera. You can utilize that off-roading, so that way you have better visibility. Plenty of cutouts in that grille as well. And this even has LED headlights, DRLs, and turn signals. I really like that the DRL and turn signal is split by the bodywork that surrounds that lower section there. This has LED fog lights in the lower section too, but it gives it a really nice sleek design and blends in nicely with this front end. Now in the lower section, there are 2 red tow hooks, some more cutouts, even skid plates up underneath to give you that added protection, and some nice bulges that run down the hood. So there's a really nice design right front and center. And then like I mentioned earlier, with that approach angle, you can tell that the bumper is cut out where you can see a good bit of that front tire. So it makes it that much more capable for off-roading situations to drive this truck right off the lot as is and be able to handle some trails. Now along with that is the factory 2-inch lift kit. Now we actually had a Canyon for a week, took it off-roading, and it desperately needed that 2-inch lift. So if you're planning to go off-road and you don't want to do a lot of modifications, this can definitely handle it. Now this has a set of 20-inch wheels with that multi-spoke design and the two-tone finish wrapped in an all-terrain tire. The fender flares are finished off in plastic with the reflectors right in the middle. AT4 badge is down below. This has gloss black for the side mirrors along with another camera. So you can have that 360 view while you're off-road. There's a sunroof up top, the matte black vinyl in between the windows, and some nice contoured lines that run down the side. Very angular in some aspects, like on the back of the bed there. And as you can tell, this is the quad cab with the shorter bed. So it has some great styling and proportions to it. Now in back, this has GMC Canyon right in the middle, backup camera, LED taillights too, body colored rear bumper with all the parking sensors. There's even an integrated step on both sides along with the handle up top. So that way you can gain access from the side. If you have the bed down, it makes it much easier to jump in, even to get back out. And this can even tow up to 7,700 pounds. With that 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, you are not missing any capabilities like the outgoing V6. So you still get the same performance from a smaller engine, even more performance with those torque numbers I mentioned earlier. As we move on to the bed, this has the soft opening tailgate, even a cool design in the top section, all stamped in. There's a tape measure on the end of it, so if you're using this as a work truck, you need those measurements, you can quickly do that. You can also add some items inside this tailgate. This is a really cool design because tailgates are pretty much hollow and useless. Not in this one. Canyon gives you extra storage space to place in any items that you need to. Now this entire bed has the spray-in bed liner to give you that added protection. There's tie-down hooks everywhere, and then a 3-prong outlet over on that passenger side, so you can power some tools anything that you would like to use. Very lightweight tailgate, so that makes it easy to close. Now as we work our way to the back seats, door panel has a nice design. You will notice too, for this solar flare exterior, we have a brown interior. A different combination, but I think it works very nicely. There's more of that stitching on the leather for the armrest, a little bit of storage in the lower section where you can place a drink, and then part of the upgraded sound system that the AT4X provides you. Now looking at the interior seats, we have a combination of the leather and the brown for most of the piping there. What I love about the Canyon too is that for the smaller size that this is, there's actually hidden storage space underneath. So you do need two hands to not only lift that tab, but to use your other hand to lock that up into place where there is a good bit of storage space. This goes all the way to the passenger side, so you can lift up that other seat. It's nice to see that because there's no storage space behind the backrest. So you get all that storage nicely placed underneath. As you saw earlier, you can even fold the headrest too to give you a little bit more visibility if you don't have backseat passengers. Now at 5'10", it is a little bit of a step with that 2-inch lift, but it is not really that hard. Now behind both front seats, there's storage pockets, cup holders in the middle. There's even climate adjustments and some auxiliaries with a 3-prong down below. Plenty of space for the size of this truck. And again, at 5'10", 2 or 3 inches above my head. These seats sit pretty upright, but I'm comfortable. For a mid-sized truck, you're going to expect similar amounts of space across the board. And for what it is, you can fit full-size adults back here. Probably better for smaller kids, but if you need to, you can have this as a practical smaller truck. Now the armrest is in the middle with 2 cup holders. This has the manual sliding rear glass, so you can open and close that as needed. And we do have a grab handle up top for your backseat passengers, so that way it makes it a little bit easier to enter and exit. Now the front door panel is finished off just like the rear. There's 2 areas for storage in the door panel though. This really cool trim piece that goes just above the leather. This has memory seating adjustments, lock and unlock, all the side mirror and window adjustments, and more of that brown trim. And then for the automatic seats up front, AT4 is on the inside of both seats, and same design that you saw in back. And again, have to jump up slightly to get into this truck. Now for the interior, we have that all new infotainment and gauge cluster setup with the really cool animation. Steering wheel is finished off in solid leather with some trim accents. On the left side, there's all the cruise and adaptive cruise control settings. So this model does have the distance pacing too. On the right side, there's music and voice commands, heated steering wheel control, and then this pages button is for the gauge cluster setup. So let's fire this up to go over that information. We can bring this to life. And for the all-new digital gauge cluster, currently it is showing miles per hour in the lower section, what gear you're in, and then the range, and the transfer case is on that left side. Now to change that, again, I'll go back to this pages button where you can pull up the TAC now with some vitals on both sides. There's even a different screen where you can look at trip information, and then those vitals go to the right or the left side. You have music that you can pull up, and then even look at some off-road information like your pitch and roll, steering angle, and the transfer case. So those are the only settings that you get. It's still nice to be able to do that. On the back side of the steering wheel, still retains the volume and tuning adjustments. So that just makes it a little bit less decluttered on the front side by having those hidden on the back. Now on the left side, this has a trailer braking system. There's a dimmer switch for the gauges. Really nice trim accent surrounding the one air vent. And then as we work our way to the middle, you'll notice more of the Bose audio. And then we have the large infotainment system. Power and volume for the radio is the physical button over on the left side. And then for the rest of this, currently, let's go to the home icon where there's map, phone, you can go into your trailering, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, even look at a few more controls. What I really like is the air down mode. So the vehicle will use the horn to let you know when you've deflated or when you've inflated to the PSI that you start at, which is a neat feature to have. And then if we go into off-road, there's a few different tabs. You can go into Baja, look at what you just saw on the gauge cluster. We can swipe over to the terrain to look at it in a little bit different view. And then overlanding has your elevation and your compass. So it's pretty cool to see that for a factory truck. There's some other controls that you can go into just to set everything up the way that you would like to. And then over on the left side, there's shortcuts to your music. You can pull up Google Maps so you can go through all that information, pair your phone to the system, of course, and if I push on the vehicle, it's back to those settings there. Now, if we go into the camera system right now, there's a few different angles, just depending on what you would like to see. Especially if you're off-roading, you can see where your wheels are. We also have a trailer line or the guidelines that you can pull up. There's a hitch view too. So it's really nice, just depending on what you're doing, you have plenty of visibility. Now, I love that this screen is similar to the Sierra. It's only a few inches smaller to accommodate the interior of this Canyon. AT4 is over on that passenger side with more of that trim surrounding it. We have leather underneath it, continuing its way around the rest of these controls. Now, I like this double stack setup for all of these toggles with your temperature dials on both sides. This does have heated and ventilated seats, where you'd like the air to go, fan speed, the rest of your climate adjustments. So it's a lot of controls, but it's laid out well in this design between those AC controls or the temperatures. Now, the engine start stop button is on the far left there. And then underneath that, 2 air vents. You can also put down all 4 windows with the push of 1 button. It doesn't put them up, but it's nice on a hot day. You can quickly put all of them down. There's the engine start stop feature, hazards, lane keeping assist, and then auxiliaries that you can power by turning that on. There's some more auxiliaries just underneath that, along with the wireless charging pad. Pretty cool camo design for the bottom of that. Now, with the leather wrap shifter, reverse, of course, we'll pull up the camera with that top-down view and everything that you just saw. There's also drive and a low range, and then you can have the plus and minus and use those if you're towing or off-roading. Now, to the left of that, we have auto along with your 4 high, 4 low, and you can even toggle through the different driving modes. So there's off-road along with tow and haul, there's terrain, and then normal. And these have pretty good significant differences to them. Check out our video taking a Canyon off-road to see the differences between terrain and off-road. Very cool system to modulate the power where you need it to go. The e-brake is just behind that. 2 cup holders and some storage in the middle, just like you saw in the rear. And then for the armrest, there is a removable tray. So when you move that out of the way, you have a good amount of storage with another auxiliary. And then the glove box also has a good amount of space where you can add additional items as needed. And this does have the sunroof, manual adjusting sunshade with the rest of the controls up in the middle. There's also some safety controls that you can use too. And then a look at visibility from the driver's seat. It is very open in the smaller size truck. So combined with the camera system, you can pretty much see around this entire vehicle. As we set off now behind the wheel for this Canyon AT4, like I said earlier, just over $50,000. And you still have 2 trim levels above this if you'd like to go with the Denali or the AT4X, or you can go to lower trim levels like the Z71. That was a truck that we had for the week. That's the one that I'm referring to that we were able to take off the pavement. Same engine, of course. It didn't have the lift, some of the same off-roading capabilities, but it was very cool to see how capable that truck was. Now we have a lot more of a capable truck with the 2-inch lift kit. So for around $50,000, which seems to be kind of the going rate for mid-sized trucks, at least for the higher trim levels, this is a really cool option. Now, the color combo is something different to talk about. It's a cool color in person, especially with the brown. I think it's paired very nicely. But aside from that, having been able to drive the new Canyon for a week, I think it's a pretty solid truck. I like this smaller engine. Obviously, it sounds different than the outgoing V6, but off-road it does great. Highway driving it does great. Fuel economy does good. I do wish it was slightly more. It's kind of almost on par with the V6, but it's still, I think it's still a good engine. So if you're upset about the V6 going away, it's just as capable. Of course, just sounds much different than that naturally aspirated V6. But I like how this drives. It's very comfortable and smooth, very spacious too. I like this interior too. Very nice update, which was much needed for both this and the Colorado. And speed bump like that, for what I can do today, it handles well with this 2-inch lift kit. It doesn't seem like it actually has a lift kit. You know, when you think about lifting trucks You think about the suspension getting harsher or not driving as good, certain situations and things like that. But for the few miles I've put on it so far, I don't have any issues with that. And as far as power goes, I won't do anything too crazy for this truck, but we were able to punch it in the Z71, and it gets up and moves. That almost more than 100 pound-feet of torque versus the V6 definitely makes this scoot and get up to speed. If you're a novice to off-roading and you don't really know the settings and all of that, this is a really easy truck for novice off-roaders to jump into, because we have the off-road and terrain settings that basically modulate the power for you. You have a downhill assist control, so that way you don't have to worry about braking. You can just steer and the truck will get you down the hill as needed. So it's a very nice, and with the lift kit too, you don't have to worry about scraping and things like that. It's a very good out-of-the-box mid-size truck to go with that's not overcomplicated with a bunch of different off-road settings. You don't have to push this button. It has a rear locker too, which will activate in these settings too. So you don't have to push a separate button. And with a mild acceleration, here we go. And just up to speed. Like I said, I was in the Canyon that we had for the week, really ripped on that. As far as getting up at a much faster rate of speed, this is a quick vehicle for that turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. And a view from behind the wheel of this $50,000 mid-size GMC, very, very nice interior. Like I mentioned earlier, very similar to the Sierra, just smaller for this smaller interior. I think everything works very well for it. And it would be a great daily driver. It's so comfortable and quiet. There's no road noise, wind noise. Everything on the inside is well put together. There is some plastic materials on the dash, on the top of the door there. However, across the board, 50 grand for the mid-size platform, you're going to see some materials like that here and there. But again, be sure to check out the other videos that we've made on the Canyon so far as off-roading and our thoughts about what the truck was like living with it for 1 week. Today is a quick drive and review for this trim level, which is definitely something to consider for that price point. But that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Once again, huge shout out to Randy Marion GMC for providing this truck for me today. Check out their website, give the video a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and consider smashing that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.